Hi everyone, welcome back to Ellis Tech podcast, where we speak with founders and experts at the intersection of finance, logistics, and risk about what's changing right now and what actually works in practice. Today I'm joined by Ellis Taylor, the founder of Glyde. Ellis, thanks for coming back on.
Great to be here. I think this is our third one now, isn't it? Third podcast, yeah.
Yeah, and it's been quite some time since our last episode, so it's pleasure to have you back. And in this episode, actually, Ellis will help us uncover more about AI in trading and risk management and what it really means for SMEs in FX space. Our goal is very simple, to cut through the hype and keep it really practical. We are going to talk about where AI is already helping, where it's still weak, and what founders should realistically do next. So, to kick us off, Ellis, from your perspective as the founder at the fintech space, where do you see AI driving the most immediate change for SMEs and FX market today?
Yeah, great question. I think the obvious one is fraud prevention. That seems to be the hot topic right now. For us, we actually see a lot of value from AI in the product itself. For Glyde in particular, one of our core kind of values and our product features is to remove broker bias, essentially, right? A legacy currency broker for currency exchange, there's always going to be a bias. And quite frankly, currency markets, the rate is a price, and the price goes up or down, and no one actually has the ability to forecast or predict where the rates are going to go, and it becomes incredibly dangerous for kind of inexperienced, even more experienced small and medium enterprises who then take that information from a human being, a legacy currency provider, and then it drives a decision that it could positively impact their business, but it also could negatively impact their business. And so one of the core issues that we face is how do we eliminate broker bias using AI so that they get access to that same information, but in a way that's, one, simple enough for them to understand, and two, allows them to make informed decisions independently and without bias. And so we have a conversational AI chatbot, essentially Glyde AI, and it completely strips that back. So you're able to say, hey, Glyde AI, how is GBP USD doing in the last couple of weeks? The user will then get, some very straightforward context. Hey, the rate is now here. The lowest it's been is X. The highest it's been is Y. These are some macroeconomic events that are potentially driving change, but the fact of the matter is you're kind of sat in the middle. What that allows the end user to do is go, okay, great. Well, if I'm in the middle, I might use Glyde's smart rate targeting feature to aim for that higher rate that it's been in the last couple of weeks. Or actually, I'm quite happy here, sat in the middle, so I'll just reserve my rate today for the invoice in 30 days' time, and I'll put it to the back of my mind. So with that being said, you're able to consolidate a lot of information in a really simple and informed manner, and then allow the end user to make informed decisions based off that data. And ultimately, it's about making sure no one gets hurt. Because when I was trading, it was, hey, if the rates are going down, you sell on fear. If the rates are going up, you sell on greed. Everyone wants a better rate, so that's what you use to sell. But I just didn't agree with it. I thought it was dangerous because we don't know where the markets are going, right? So it should be down to the end user, the customer, so long as they have the information that they need to make a decision about the currency exchange rate they want to achieve for that particular invoice. I hope that makes sense to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, you're not only providing the information transparency to the users and to your clients now, but you're also providing them with the smart tools which they can use to see and have access to that information directly and make their own decisions based on the information and based on the data that they can see and actually leverage from the chatbot.
For sure. And the more saturated the FX market becomes, the lower the barrier to entry is. And this is relevant because when you've got a barrier to entry that's so low, anyone can enter the market as an FX specialist. And so you have some very qualified FX brokers, but you also have some very unqualified FX brokers all branding themselves with the same label. Now, I haven't got any issue with that, but it's tough because then you get a lot of noise, you get a lot of noise. You get the more unqualified brokers saying, I'm an FX specialist, I should be making this decision for your business, telling an SME managing director who's been in business for 20, 30 years what they should be driving their currency decisions based on. And I think it's incredibly dangerous with that much noise, because the broker, quite frankly, doesn't care if the rate does go up or down. Like, the goal there is to drive commission, and the commission is enabled by getting them to buy currency when the timing suits the provider and not the customer. And that's an important nuance. And that is what AI allows us to essentially eradicate, which is great. It's really central to our model. In addition, it's great that AI has a positive impact in client-facing environments, but there's more to it than that. We found that AI behind closed doors, behind the scenes, has been instrumental to our business, because we've been able to apply AI to our GTM engine, which is basically how we acquire our customers through automated, highly customized distribution, mostly via email. And we use AI to do that. We have a very, very unique AI tool that can get information about our ICP, our ideal customer profile, whilst I'm sleeping. I wake up in the morning, I've got highly customized email. I understand you've got operations in Asia. I understand you've got an office in Ukraine. Then the distribution kind of takes place, the emails go out, and AI has enabled us to do that. So we can cut through the noise of sales now, because all of a sudden we're targeting our ICP and we're doing it at scale. And then we obviously have our calculator. So we say, hey, you can use this calculator, and then we can open the doors by delivering free value at scale to customers in a highly competitive market. So to summarize, amazing for client facing, product features or solutions. For us, mostly the ability to remove broker bias from the FX workflow. And to GTM, we are now able to book demos pretty much every day, to be honest, because AI has enabled us to pursue highly accurate distribution channels.
That's really great points, Alice, that you just mentioned. AI has already brought lots of change, and we can only guess what else might be in the future, might come, both to Glyde and the world, the FX space in general. And also, when we talk about AI and FX markets, one thing that comes to mind is exactly risk and trust in FX. Fraud is usually one of the first things that people bring up when we talk about AI in FX market, and in general, AI as such. And fraud detection, it seems like one of the strongest AI promises right now in the industry. How far do you think AI has already come in making FX transactions safer, and what gaps still remain?
Yeah, it's a great question. There was actually a couple of companies, fintechs, on the JP Morgan fintech forward program that we was on, and they're tackling this problem head on using AI in fraud intervention, and they're doing very, very well, and they've got some incredible businesses. I'm not an expert. I'm not going to pretend to be, but it's obviously a very hot topic, and it does have relevance to FX for sure. It's made FX materially safer as a kind of pattern recognition layer. So it's really good at spotting anomalies really across, look at the types of beneficiaries, the timing of their payments, the IP addresses that they might be using your platform from to transact globally. It can kind of really efficiently pick out anomalies that potentially humans are prone to miss. And so it's highly efficient in doing that. Which is obviously amazing, right? Because fraud is an incredibly important topic, and one that requires a lot of attention. I think AI definitely has probably the most important place in that moving forward. Real-time monitoring as well, I feel like it's quite a big win. So instead of kind of reviewing payments after the fact, after you've booked the conversion, after you've raised the payment, at a point where that's the point where you really need to know, okay, when is this supplier getting paid, or when is my property money going to land in sterling in the UK? And AI has a place in kind of assessing or monitoring those positions early so that they can get ahead of any compliance queries prior to getting to that stage, you know, because it's almost like the payment's been raised. Okay, fantastic. AI's flagged X, Y, and Z. Fantastic. What's the next step after that? The next step is probably still a bit of human intervention. The compliance manager is going to come and have to review that. The list has got longer because they're all waiting still for that human layer. Potentially someone that's completely safe and has a completely legitimate payment might get stuck therefore. And so delays could be like an inevitable pain point or headache essentially that comes with that additional compliance layer. But that's, I guess, the cost of having a highly efficient compliance process. So I'm not a compliance manager. I won't pretend to be. I've done my reading, but that's as far as it goes. But yeah, I think you'll see some really interesting stuff for sure. I already am, to be fair.
Mm-hmm. And are you already working with some things like that, or it's still in the process for Glyde at the moment?
Yeah, we've got various partners and liquidity partners, and they're kind of constantly making improvements, enhancements at the moment. I think that's where the biggest value add is for LPs, liquidity partners, banking partners, whatever you want to call them, the people that take a lot of responsibility away from kind of fintechs, young fintechs trying to penetrate new markets. They have, you know, a huge investment in using AI as a pattern recognition layer because they're doing it for so many different fintechs who are trying to grow quickly at scale, you know. And in order to grow quickly at scale, you need systems that are capable of identifying fraud quickly and at scale. So it's kind of almost a non-negotiable, you know, like to an extent, because the fintech market moves like crazy. It's insane. You know, when I first started Glyde, the product that I first had in mind for Glyde still has a place in the market, but we have to evolve quickly, you know. So that's why we're really transitioning from standalone FX to FX and payments, because that's where the value is now for our end clients. And the point I'm making there is just market moves really fast. So compliance is going to have to move fast with it. And I think it's doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking, what if we take this idea even one step further? Do you think chatbots, fraud detection tools, and different like new AI solutions will evolve into something like standardized for the fintech industry, for the fintech platforms? Or will this remain more like a value add layer for specific use cases?
It's an interesting question. And I think because it's so new, I think we as an industry are learning each day and then getting kind of external feedback from incumbents and competitors that are doing it at scale. Like I genuinely think for us in FX, conversational Glyde AI that gives no advice but factual information on the context of your currency markets, definitely a place for that. Okay, compliance, fraud prevention, definitely a place for that. Customer support or AI as a customer support deflection tool, no chance. I don't see it. And the reason I don't see it is because there are incumbents that exist in the market right now whose customers are very unhappy, like because they are heavily reliant, almost too reliant on AI as a fraud prevention tool, as a customer success tool. So what you have is funds being held for a compliance reason on account when your account serves the purpose of sending money across borders quickly, efficiently, and at very little overall cost. And you're waiting a few weeks, right? Because the funds are on balance. So the compliance component is obviously having a negative impact on the customer. Then combine that with, okay, I'm using AI as some form of customer success tool or to replace something like a human account manager that's going to cost me, a fair bit of money to consistently manage your customers at scale. And I've got a customer that's ultimately very unhappy because he can't talk to a human being about what's gone wrong. So he can't explain it to his supplier. And this chatbot now has to somehow communicate with compliance to not give any information away, but still make sure the customer's well informed enough to know what's going on with their money. Like I think AI, automation, a combination of two, whatever you want to call it, solving that pain point is too risky right now in terms of when you look at it relative to the customer journey and the customer experience. I can tell you now, we won't be doing that. I will never be in a position where someone is using Glyde and they have to ask a chatbot 50 questions before it finally decides to go, do you want me to put you through to a human being? Like, we kind of want to sit right in the middle of that. And obviously there's going to be teething problems that come with scale, but I want Glyde to operate like a fintech incumbent, but still have someone that you can just pick up the phone and go, what's going on? Why are my funds held? Okay, funds held for this reason. We need this. I'm on standby if you need me. Let me handle this basically for you, or let me help you, and we'll get through it together. Get through it together sounds a bit emotional, but like we'll find a resolution for you very quickly, and I'll do my best to do that. I think as soon as you miss that piece, or you hand off that piece to AI, I mean, you only have to look at examples in the market right now to see that there are inefficiencies, and the customers are the one missing out, not the operations of the business, but the customer.
Yeah, and customers, as we know, are the most important thing. So yeah, and unfortunately, there are many examples like that. And I, from my experience, I saw that too. And you have to keep the right balance. You have to know where you can actually delegate this to AI, and when actually human input is needed. So it's about finding the right balance and keeping human in the loop when something might happen, or might be needed something additional.
Yeah, exactly that. For sure, I agree.
Yeah, Alice, this has been really useful. And if I sum this up in just a few lines, AI is already making a difference in customer support. Partially, we can see that in marketing, we can see that in different other directions, in fraud prevention and in compliance tools. And it's a huge difference and huge change for what was before. But the real edge comes from, of course, the clean data, clear controls, understanding where it's needed, where not, and not treating AI like a magic button, but having this as a tool which can help you speed up the growth, which can help you to stay competitive and actually bring innovation to the market and to the products and projects that you're working on. Before we wrap, one quick last question. If an SME founder listening today wants to be AI ready in the nearest future, what's the first practical step you would recommend? Do you recommend experimenting early to gain an edge, or maybe waiting until the tools are more mature and more proven?
Maturity is obviously very important in terms of, are you going to be using external providers to incorporate this AI? Are you absolutely sure that false positives won't occur? Or if you're doing something like a AI bot for information purposes, can you be 100% certain that it won't give advice? That's obviously one of the challenges that we had with Glyde AI. So that'll be my first thing, is like, do everything you can to make sure the infrastructure is robust and it does what it says and nothing more. And also, like, don't incorporate AI for the sake of incorporating AI. Like, it sounds so cliche because everyone says that, but like, if you're looking to do something client facing, and for us especially, I'll be honest, I was like really excited. I was like, I would have loved this as an FX broker serving a customer, and I know a customer will like it, but I wasn't 100%, so I had to jump on calls and go through and not just say, would you use this, or like, how would you interact with this, but get them to do it, and then basically see what their reactions are like. Like, does that person genuinely look like they're going to engage with that product feature? Because otherwise it's just going to be an empty chatbot that never gets used, So I think it's a combination of like a lot of research, testing, and then experimentation combined. So just three steps. And we're learning as we go too, to be honest. Like, we're learning every single, like I said, the FX and fintech especially. FX is basically a component of fintech now, like a small subset of a wider product offering. And this is why you see Revolut dominate, because they can offer everything all in one place. It's not just a term, but they can. And so people use it. There's mass adoption of that product in corporate currency accounts, because things like cards, things like zero integration, hey, populate my accounting software so I haven't got to enter the same data on 2 unified platforms, and save me half the time managing cross-border workflows. So there's so much now in terms of away from FX and actually payments. So yeah, just to summarize, I think 3 steps, you know, so like research, make sure it does what it says and doesn't go beyond that, experiment. And that's the approach I take anyway, 3 steps.
That's great answer and perfect, Ellis. Thank you very much for your time. And that was Ellis Taylor from Glyde. And thanks everyone for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe and share it with someone working in finance, operations, or risk. See you in the next one.
See you later.